What's happening, everybody? It's your big homie Doe checking in one time for the one time back with another episode of Donuts with Doe. And on today's podcast, which I always say this about everybody that comes on this podcast, is like they do all type of stuff, and you can't really just say, "Oh, well, he's a poet," "Oh, he's a rapper," he's a motivational speaker." Nah, you got to run it all down.
For sure.
You got to run it all down. And on today's podcast, we have one of those slash guys, as I always say. Today, I don't even know if I want to call him Rashad the poet, if I want to call him by his government. But we have Rashad the poet on today's podcast.
What's going on, good people? What's up, brother?
Oh man, not much. Just hanging in here trying to survive.
For sure.
Man, how you been doing, brother? It's been a minute since I seen you in person.
In person, right? Yeah, man, I'm great, brother. I can't complain, man. Everything is good. Blessed. The family's great. Like everything is rolling in a positive way. So I'm super happy, man.
Man, that is what's up, man. And here we go again, people. We have another Nashville native, man. And I always have to ask the $1 million question.
Mm-hmm.
What side of Nashville were you born on?
I was born in North Nashville.
North Nashville.
Yeah. I'm a Hubbard baby. For those OG Nashvilleians, y'all know Hubbard Hospital. That's my Harry.
Okay.
Yeah. So Hubbard Hospital. Yeah.
Hubbard.
Yeah. Hubbard.
You gotta say it like that.
Gotta say it like that. Hubbard. Yeah. North side. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
What high school did you go to?
I went to Hunters Lane. So
Hunters
we moved like right around my I guess 7th grade, 8th grade, we moved out towards Madison. And so went to Hunters Lane. You know what I'm saying?
It's another one of them Hunters Lane.
Yeah.
Cats on
Hunters
here.
Lane, man, we heavy out here. You know what I'm saying?
I see that.
We heavy. We real heavy out here. So
I ain't gonna put you in the hot seat about Madison like I did Jaren.
Yeah, I saw that. I mean, that's definitely not. It's definitely not East Nashville. It's not.
Yeah, but growing up
Mm-hmm.
in North Nashville, what are you doing? What are you falling in love with? What's inspiring you?
Yeah, man. Just being able to ride, bikes and stuff, up and down Jefferson Street, and again, at this time, it's not what it looks like now, but it's still like this feeling that you get. I didn't go to TSU, but anybody that was, any Black Nashvilleian born in Nashville, you are a honorary TSUan, if you will. You know what I'm saying? So just going, being able to just ride up and down Jefferson Street, TSU, and having Fisk right there. And then also just a neighborhood I grew up in, just riding bikes and just going around, going to Fountain Square. That was a big thing. That's where Watkins is now, for those who are familiar. So that was like a big thing, because you had, Foot Locker, you had all the shoe places over there. You had, the movie theater was over there. And so like, that was just a spot to go to as well, man, just trying to hang out with the older folks. Cause that's 12, 13 years old, trying to hang out with 17, 16, 17-year-olds. And so like, that was the kind of thing to do. So just that energy, man, was just beautiful, and it's missed, but it really would help, mold us and raise us. So.
Okay. And growing up, did you have both parents in the household? You have siblings?
Yeah. Both parents in the house. My sister is younger than me. She's about 2 years younger than me. So yeah, and I have plenty of cousins. You know what I'm saying? So just always, sleeping over somebody's house, pulling up, not even expecting to stay over. Y'all want to stay? Yep. Like, you know what I mean? You know how that goes. So just that energy, man, was just always fun. Grandmother's house. My grandma lived on Buchanan. Buchanan.
But
you know what I'm saying?
Buchanan.
Yeah. So, so that was just always a thing, man, just hanging out over there, like those memories being over there. And man, just again, like that whole community energy was just always a beautiful thing growing up. So I definitely miss it. I definitely appreciate it though.
Man, so back in those days, music was a big part of growing up.
Yeah.
And what music were you influenced by at the time? Because we obviously know that you got the bars. So.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. Yeah, I think, man, just honestly, like I'm a jazz cat. You know what I'm saying? Like jazz is my favorite art form from a musical standpoint. So like I listened to like a lot of jazz growing up. There was a lot of jazz playing in my house. My father was a big jazz listener. So like I kind of grew up on jazz, and at the time I didn't appreciate it. You know what I mean? But as I got older and I kind of revisited things, and like, man, I've heard this before. You know what I mean? And then my dad was a big record collector, like most fathers or parents were probably in the 70s, 80s. So I would go back and go through his collection and be like, oh, man, you got this? You got this? You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, from a hip hop standpoint, just, I think I was kind of well read in hip hop just because I was, in high school, like we listened to everything. You know what I'm saying? We listened to everything from the South, and then we listened to, everything from up north, from Nas to Boot Camp Click, you know what I mean? So like all that was like Woo, you know what I'm saying? Red Meth, like, you know what I'm saying? So like I kind of grew up listening to like everything from a hip hop standpoint, even West Coast stuff. So, for me, I felt like I had a really like open palette, you know what I'm saying, musically growing up. And, the guy on my shirt today, for those who Gil Scott Heron, you know what I'm saying, was played a lot in the house too. So like he's like, one of my favorite and one of my biggest influences was Gil Scott. So
Okay.
yeah.
And with Gil Scott being one of your influences,
Mhm.
because obviously your name is Rashad the Poet.
Right.
When did poetry enter to your life, and when can you remember when you wrote your first poem and things of that nature?
Yeah, like I think my first poem is actually in my mom's house, on her wall. I think it's like framed. It was like a Mother's Day thing. I think I wrote a poem for my mom at one point. But like I wasn't even thinking about poetry until like I got in college. So I didn't even, really think about becoming a spoken word artist until I got to college. But then when I got to school, I went to Alabama A&M in Huntsville, Normal, Alabama.
Huntsville?
Yeah, one time.
Yes, sir.
And so when I got down there, I kind of got around a lot of other poets, and they just kind of really influenced me and just helped me take my like artistry to the next level. And so like that's kind of where it started. You know what I'm saying? Like those are like my best times I can think of. It's like as a spoken word poet, like in that early incubation period of like falling in love with poetry, because I was not the person, of course, that I am now. So I was like very like shy, you know what I mean? Like I was like scared to get on the mic the first time, you know what I mean? So it took like a lot of growth, but all that growth happened there. And then from there, it was just like it was on, you know what I mean?
So you really didn't have that knack in high school of speaking in front of people or anything like that?
Not at all. Like I was like it's crazy because again, like you plant seeds are planted in you that you may not really realize grow until later. But even in high school, like I took like a speech class, and I took another class where we had to do a commercial, and we had to make it from scratch. And I was like, man, I really like this, you know what I mean? But like I didn't think anything of it. It was just like, oh, this is dope. But it wasn't like, oh, because I was going to college to be an engineer. So I wasn't even thinking about this at all. You know what I mean? And it really was like my senior year in high school. And you know how sometimes when you're a senior, you don't have a whole bunch of classes. So they give you like office worker or something like that. So I was working in the library, and it was just pretty much just me sitting at the circulation desk. Circulation desk, for y'all who are new, that is where you would go to get the card catalog numbers so that you could go to the card catalog to look up, because the internet was brand new. This is, I mean, I'm OG. This is 1999, right? So internet was just happening. So it wasn't like getting on a computer or getting on my phone and just wasting time. So I had to figure out what to do. So I just started writing just because I was bored. And from there, it kind of like sparked this love of like writing, and just kind of went from there.
So at this time, are you rapping, or
no?
When does rapping enter into?
Yeah, I mean, like I didn't start rapping. Like, of course, growing up in hip hop, you always rap, right? You know what I'm saying? You always rapping around the house or rapping with your people or whatever. But I didn't rap in public until like 2010.
Really?
For sure. Yeah,
dude, I could have swore like you've been out here.
Nah, like I mean, again, like I built my bones as a poet, right? Like traveling around the country as a spoken word artist. So from like 2005 to 2009 ish, like that's what I was doing. Like I, put out mad albums as a poet, and built my brand as a spoken word artist. And so it wasn't until like my wife and I actually moved to upstate New York, Albany, New York. She went to get her master's up there.
Oh, wow.
And so we were up there for a year and a half. And it was when I got up there that I kind of was like, I can try it here because don't nobody know me. You know what I'm saying? So if it's whack, then it's all good. But it was like well received, and it was a lot of people were like, man, why you should have been rapping, like you should have been doing this, you know what I mean? And so because I never wanted to rap, because again, everybody's a rapper, and you know how that stigma. I'm like, man, look, I'm not trying to, but it just, so it kind of organically just happened, and like I was cool with it, you know what I mean? So
man, well, you could have fooled me. I could have sworn that you was out here just
man, just out here with the poetry. But again, I mean, I think sometimes people look at poets and don't look at it like poets being able to like have bars or have like substance of content that's put together well. You know what I'm saying? We just looked at it as just like, oh, you got like a lot of consciousness or whatever. But it's like, nah, poets, we still like, you know what I'm saying? We still bar you up. You know what I mean? It's just kind of the delivery is just different. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's still there.
So you said back in 2005 is when you really hit the scene with the poetry.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, go back a little bit about where you started with the
Yeah,
poetry.
yeah, for sure. So I moved back. So I graduated from A&M in 2003,
Okay.
and I stayed down there till probably mid 2004. And then I came home. And when I came back to Nashville, it was just like it was I guess in essence, a culture shock for me a little bit because again, I had been in Huntsville just as a page poet. And so for those who may not be familiar, like page poets are just poets who, excuse me, perform, but they like they read off paper. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't quite yet a spoken word artist. I was still like a page poet. Like I was still spitting, but it was just on paper. You know what I mean?
I want you to break that down for people because I'm ignorant to it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Page poet,
Right.
or a spoken word.
Yeah.
Same thing,
Right. So yeah, so a page poet, and again, is nothing wrong with either one of these things, right? So, but a page poet is a poet who reads their poetry off paper. When you think about poetry and difference between poetry and spoken word is the oral quality of it. So it's meant to be heard out loud. Like spoken word isn't meant to be read, like to yourself. Like you would, like if you get a book of poems and you read it in your room, right? You're reading the poetry because that's how it was meant to. That's how it was written. It was written to be read like that. Spoken word is meant to be heard.
And would you say that there's an acting aspect?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like spoken word is it's in your body, it's in your voice, it's in the inflections in your tone, like all of that. And that's why it's such a popular art form because it emotes, it makes you feel something. You know what I'm saying? Where poetry, you can just read it and be like, oh, okay, that was a cool poem. But when you hear some spoken word, it's just like, oh, okay. Like that moved me. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like that's the difference. And so like I was kind of a page poet at the time. Like I wasn't memorizing my poems yet. But I came back home and got like hit with a culture shock because, this time spoken word was like super popular in the city. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't where it is now as far as like a national thing, but like in certain pockets, in certain places, like spoken word was really popular. And you can go hear you could go hear spoken word 5 times a week, 5 times in a week. You know what I'm saying? And so I would go to Kijij's, legendary Kijij's on Jefferson Street, and of course Love Noise on Sunday nights were like the two main spots, right? But there were other places. Mama Leah's church had a spot over at Sir Pizza. So there was a lot of things happening at the time. But I would go. I remember one night I went to the old Kijij's on the white building on Jefferson, and man, I was in there and I had signed up, but I saw all the poets, they just got up and went crazy. And I was like, yeah, I ain't ready. So then I think I ended up going to Love Noise. And at the time, Love Noise was at BB King's downtown.
He's
downstairs.
Running down some history.
Yeah, I'm saying it's not a game, right?
Don't know.
Yeah. And so I went down there and same kind of feeling. It was just like, oh, okay, I'm not ready. You know what I mean? Because again, I'm not going to get up there and read my poem when people are up there spitting off the top. So I was like, let me go back to the lab and get my stuff together. So I think I literally went back and waited like a month just to memorize all my poems and have them like tight. You know what I'm saying? So then when I came back, like it was on. You know what I'm saying? Like I think like the first time I spit, people was like,
where you been?
Who was dude? Like, because again, nobody knew me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm from here. You know what I'm saying? I'm from Nashville, but like I had been in Alabama for 4 years. You know what I mean? And so I wasn't on the spoken word scene at all. So I wasn't known. And so it was like, oh, okay, bruh, nice. You know what I mean? And so from there it was on. And at the time too, a lot of people were doing like chap books. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I don't want to do a book. I want to do an album. And I was actually filming this movie at the time, and I was on set. And we were just talking to some of the actors, and one of the guys, Crisis the Ramadan, was a Nashville OG. Yeah. Crisis was like, I was telling him I want to do this album, and he was like, oh, I got a studio. And I was like, okay, cool. We can go in a few weeks. He was like, nah, we can go tomorrow. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I went, met my boy Sabo Sound.
You hitting me with some OGs, people that I even forgot about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So we went out to Sabo's studio out in Antioch, and Sabo hadn't ever worked with spoken word before. So he wasn't really sure like what kind of production, what did I want. So I think we kind of like got some old Dilla from we got some Dilla joints, and I was like something like this. You know what I'm saying? And then 2 weeks later I had an album.
Oh
You know what I'm
wow.
saying? Witness to the Truth was my first album, my first spoken word album.
And what year was
This
this?
was 2005.
2005.
And that thing just like went crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like it exceeded like my expectations. It exceeded like what I thought I was going to do with it. I remember my first show, my first paid show was actually out here in Murfreesboro. At it wasn't MTSU. I think it was MTSU actually with another OG poet, D.O.U.G.H,
Okay.
who at the time was from Chicago poet, but he lived in Nashville. Kind of like one of the OGs of the spoken word game here in Nashville. But he took me under his wing, kind of helped me, you know, show me how to like what I need to do with my album, how I need to like really market it. And then, you know, I did my show out here, and I let him listen to the album before it came out on the way out here. And he was just like, man, he was like, this fire. He was like,
Okay.
this gonna change. This is dope. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I felt good. I had the OG's cosign. So I was like, let's go. And so we dropped the record. And again, it's time to CDs. The
Right.
CDs right here, right? You know, it's not no Spotify, no, this CDs. So this hand-to-hand combat. You know what I mean? This is on Second Ave, slanging CDs. This is so I have my album release show at D.O.U.G.H. And you know, we literally had D.O.U.G.H to capacity.
Oh wow.
So like I always like I kind of post pictures sometimes of like throwback pictures or whatever of like that show. And so we all like I have on my so again, merch. My merch has always been like something that's just been like a part of like, you know, what I've always wanted to try to bring to the table. So I had stickers and I had shirts, you know what I'm saying? Witness to the Truth shirts. I had like, we had bought like about 150 shirts, and I had like 200 copies, 200 CDs. And that night we sold out of everything.
Oh wow.
So 150 shirts, over 200 CDs in one night. And so like, that was just like, let me know like, okay, like, let's get it. So at the time, again, you would send your CDs, you would mail your CDs to CD Baby. You would mail your CDs to, you know, so Bill Lee, who's a guy in town, my tech, he had a company at the time called My CD Party. And it was so the same kind of idea, right? You would send your music and people could go online, check out your profile, order your CD, and they would send it to them in the mail. At the time, I had a brother, good friend of mine from school, A&M, who was actually living overseas. And he was like, yo, I got your album and I play it like all the time, and these people are going crazy. Send me like 300 copies. So mailed him like 300 copies. Ridiculous postage wise.
The thing I want.
Yeah, go ahead.
The thing I want people to understand is some people that can't sell 3 CDs
Right.
back in the day.
Right.
You know them people that was in the mall.
Yeah.
Those people that was at the gas station.
Right.
Hey man, just give me $2.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for people to garner that, you know, that demand,
right,
even overseas for 300 CDs
right,
at that time,
right,
is major. Don't get caught up in the numbers game,
right,
people.
Right. Nah.
But you do the math.
Yeah.
Let's break that down.
And this is $10 a pop. You know what I'm saying? And this is no middleman. This is I pay everything up front. You know, you probably pay about $5.45 or something like that at the time for everything, for the whole package of the CD, the packaging, everything. You know what I'm saying? So everything else is just straight a straight profit, and not including like what you make off of if you do a show. You're gonna get paid for the show and you get paid for your merch. And I got shirts, I got CDs, and I got stickers. You know what I'm saying? And I'm building my email list too, right at the same time. You know what I mean? So
this is Brandon 101 for anybody out there that's looking at this podcast and trying to build their brand, even though that, you know, it might have been a couple years back, but this is the basis of it. This is how you really build your fan base, your brand. You gotta be out here. You gotta be in front of people. And we'll segue to, where is this album taking you? Where is it?
Yeah. So like so the album dropped in May of 2005. And again, like it just went crazy. Cause again, I'm already like, I'm on the road, right? Like I'm like, okay, let's go. So I'm hitting like St. Louis, and I'm hitting like Louisville. I'm hitting Dallas. I'm going to Tampa Bay. I'm going to Atlanta. And I'm driving to all these places. That's another thing too, right? Like this is 2005. And so like the crazy part of it, and I always like laugh about it because we joke about it now. Like I bought So I had an old school, not even old school, but like an older car. It was my first car that my parents helped me get, right? But like once the album dropped, within like a month and a half or so, like I had enough money and I went and bought a car with cash from like the album sales. So I'm 24, so I'm lit. I'm out here like, hey, hey. So
this Master Rashad out
you know,
here.
I'm out here like, so I'm out here thinking like, okay, like let's go. So I went and like I bought a car with cash. I bought an Impala. You know what I'm saying? And so like I was like, I got a brand new car, I got a new album. Like, let's go. So at the time I was teaching at Schwab Elementary School here in Nashville. So like this is, pre-girlfriend, pre-wife, pre-kids. So it's just me. So I'm just like, so every Friday, like after school, I'm hopping in the car and I got my destination. I already mapped out like where I'm going. You know what I'm saying? Like a week before. So I'm like, okay, next week I'm going to Louisville. Okay. On the 21st, I'm gonna hit Dallas. You know what I'm saying? On the 28th, I'm gonna go to St. Louis. So like I'm literally like mapping out a tour that I ain't even reached out to anybody. This is like the grind of like they have open mics in these places. Again, this is like MySpace is around and Black Planet is around, but like it's hard to like reach people who run these spots through those avenues. So a lot of it's a crapshoot. It's just pull up and just hopefully, you know what I'm saying? So like I was pulling up to like places and like, hey man, like I'm from Nashville trying to jump on, and sometimes it's like, oh, okay, cool. Get your name on the list. Night go by, popping, show crazy. Still ain't call my name. Hey bro, what's up? Don't forget about your boy. Like, I got you, dog. Night go by, people leaving. Hour and a half, 2 hours. 30 minutes before the show in, about 10 people left. Oh, we gotta do from Nashville. You know what I'm saying? So everybody done, you know what I'm saying? The thickness of the crowd gone. So I'm like, whatever. I ain't even mad because I'm like, this is what this is. You know what I'm saying? Get up there. I'm finna just smash it though. Go ahead, can I do like 2? Yeah, you can do 3, bro. You know what I'm saying? He ain't even paying. He just like riding, not even, you can do 3, good. Smash. Everybody like, oh, bro, like, hey, bro, I didn't know, bro. Like, hey, we got to have you back as a feature, bro, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? And, a lot of times, again, like you would be hot about that because you done drove 6 hours and then you don't even get to perform in front of 10 people when it was a room of like 100 people. You know what I mean? But like everything was like a seed. Like I'm just planting seeds. You know what I'm saying?
Because out of those 10 people, 5 people gonna
tell
somebody.
And they're gonna tell somebody, but everybody bought something. You know what I'm saying? So it was worth I got my gas money back, I got everything back, you know what I'm saying? But the main thing was like I built a relationship. So now it's like I was able to come back a few months later as a feature. You know what I'm saying? And so it was even better because I was a feature. So like that happened, in like almost every city, right? And you know what I'm saying? It was just like you had to build up this name because again, we're not in the age of like people could just go online and check you out. It's like, no, you got to get out here and like really like build your bones as an artist, because no one can just check you out. Like you got to get out here and grind for it. And so even in that time, like I did the record, and then like a couple months later, my cousin who was living in Florida at the time, like he took my album, and he stripped away the music and just had the vocal. And then he put the vocal behind like some other joints that were out at the time. You know what I'm saying? And so one of the joints was like the Mike Jones, you know what I'm saying, back then joint. Like back then they didn't want me. You know what I'm saying? And he put it behind that, like just one of my, and I was like, this kind of crazy. So I was like, bruh, I went to Sabo and I was like, hey, we can ready to do a mixtape. He was like, are you finna rap? I was like, nah, we're gonna do a poetry mixtape. He was like, what? I was like, man, I ain't heard nobody do this. So we jacked all the beats, just like rappers do, just like singers do, but we just spit spoken word on top of it. So like the Mike Jones joints, I was just changes. Like back then they didn't want me, now poetry hot, they all on me. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So like it was just joints like that, but it was just like whatever was hot at the time. Like we just took all the joints and just jacked all the beats and just spit poetry on it. You know what I'm saying? So like that was like the mixtape volume 1. Joint went crazy. And this is all within like, so the album came out in May. End of June, the first mixtape dropped. And then in November of the same year, I dropped volume 2, which was called The Love Sessions, because I was talking to a young lady at the time. And she was like, like y'all poets don't be talking about nothing. Like y'all just be,
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Like y'all can't talk about love and
word?
you know what I'm saying? So I was like, oh, for sure. It's like, and it's just the dudes, just the men. So I did so I was like, okay, let's go. So I was like, volume 2 dropped in November. We called it the Love Sessions. So it was like all like slow joints, but it was all dudes. So I like got all the dude poets who I knew from like here, Atlanta, wherever. And we spit it was just all love poems, like 25 tracks, but it was a mixtape. You know what I'm saying? But it was all spoken word. You know what I mean? And then in February the next year, dropped volume 3. So I dropped like 4 albums in like a 9-month time frame, which at the time, like now that's nothing. But at the time, that was like, this dude is crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But like all of that, like, and again, this is still hand to hand. So like all of that really like took me to like another level with like my artistry and my grind, because again, like it's hand to hand, so like TSU homecoming was always my favorite time of the year because it was like 3 for 15, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, I'm finna get these
and we
off.
getting them off like because again, it was like everybody normally is coming up to you and like, hey, I got this CD, I'm rapping. But I was like, yo, we got y'all like spoken word, y'all like that smooth stuff, y'all like bars, y'all like energy, y'all like people talking about something. Like it was like, oh, okay, this poetry, like, oh, okay, you know what I'm saying? So we was getting them off like super easy, you know what I'm saying? But like that was just a part of the grind, though.
I want to backtrack a
Yeah.
little bit. You mentioned Crisis the Rhyme Dime,
Yeah.
and you was on the set of a movie.
Mhm.
Let's speak about some of your acting and how you fell in love with acting.
Yeah, for sure. So like I started acting kind of like, again, like kind of accidentally, but not accidentally. So a friend of mine, Renard Hirsch, was a OG comedian in town. He was an actor at TSU.
Second time you've been mentioned on this podcast.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. He's definitely a legend. It's my brother. And so he was doing a play at TSU, and he was like, "Hey man, you want to come audition for this play?" And I was like, "Yeah, we were shooting basketball." And I was like, "Yeah, for sure, man. I always wanted to be an actor." And so I went and auditioned for the late great Barry Scott, rest his soul, and Kimberly Lamarck. So I auditioned for this play called Blues for an Alabama Sky by Pearl Cleage, and I got the understudy role, which is basically just the understudy is the person who is, so there's the main actor, and then you like back them up if something happens. So if like they get sick or whatever, you learn all their lines and you're just ready to go. So I was like, okay, cool. Be the understudy, first little role. I'm cool with it. So about 2 weeks in after the table read, and so it was a professional training, right? It's called summer stock. It was in the summertime. So it's called summer stock because it's like professional theater training. So it's not like just a play and you show up and you rehearse. It's really like get you in the mode to show you how professional actors prepare themselves.
Right.
And so it was table reads, it was blocking before you even get in the theater. And so like all of this was happening, but during one of the table reads, the main actor who had the main role, who was just like basically like he couldn't do it, he had family issues, and so the director came to me and was like, "Hey, I need you to step into this role." And this was not the role. This was not even the role I was understudying for. This was like a different. This was the main character, and I was just like, "Whoa!" Like I ain't never acted before. Like he was like, "You can do it," and so I'm just like, yo, Barry Scott, legendary Barry Scott is telling me like I can do this. And so I'm just like, okay. So I just like figure it out and I make it happen. And like I remember like the first time that I stepped on the stage after like a scene, and Renard was in the play with me, and he was like, "Man, I've never seen people give a standing ovation after an act. I mean, after a scene." Right, because like if theater, like each scene, like the lights go up to change the day or the time frame. Where he's like, I've never seen people give a standing ovation after a scene, and I was like, I didn't even, because I was so oblivious, because I was just so like, I was just, what I'm saying, so nerves, everything, you know what I'm saying. And he was like, I've never seen that before, and like after that show, I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? I was like, this is it. You know what I mean? And so. Like from that play, I went back to school, went back to A&M, found like the theater group, and man, it's just been on from there. So yeah, a lot of the stuff, my journey started with theater. You know what I mean? Like that's how I, pay my dues.
And who are you running into doing theater? Like I know it's some major people that you've come in contact with just being on the scene.
Yeah, I mean, I think like again, Barry Scott, Jeff Carr here in town, Wise, Kenny Dozier, just like a lot of these, OG, right, like theater greats who have, paved the way for, for me to be able to do what I do now. I always tell actors, if you're acting, like, do theater, because that is really what helps to build your bones as an actor. Because, when you're filming something, you can just say cut, shoot it again. But when theater's live, right?
Right.
There's no, oh, my bad, let me do that again, right? Like, no, you gotta figure it out. You know what I'm saying? And it keeps you on your toes and it keeps you fresh. And like, it's just something about it that you can't duplicate, even with improv. Like, you really can't duplicate, like, live theater and what it does for you as an actor. And you can kind of tell the difference between folks who have had theater training and folks who haven't. And really, the proof is also really in the pudding. If you think about, like, whoever your favorite actor is, they've probably done theater. Whoever the people that we consider to be the greats have done theater, right? Whether it's Denzel, Angela Bassett, like, whoever you feel like is like that dude or that woman, they probably have done theater before. So
one person in particular
Mhm.
that I know that you have come in contact
Yeah.
with during, acting,
Mhm.
theater, and that's the late great Chadwick Boseman.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Can you speak a little bit about just
Yeah.
his presence
Mhm.
when you were around him, and
Yeah.
how he his grind influenced you?
Yeah, for sure. So I met Chadwick Boseman. He actually wrote a play called Hieroglyphic Graffiti. And it was about, of course, so Seth and Horus, and that ancient Egyptian monarch. But it was set in modern day DC, and so it was about this kid and I played the character of Horus, about this kid who lost his parents. He was living with his uncle, but he would have these visions, and he would use graffiti to, like, create these messages all over DC that were like hieroglyphics, and people couldn't really read them except for this homeless guy who was, like, able to understand, and he could see him, and he could see dead people. So his father was dead, and he could see him. And so it was just this amazing piece of work. And this is Chadwick Boseman before the actor. Like, he had probably been doing some acting, but he was a writer and a director. And so he came, Barry brought him in. He came to TSU while we were doing the play, and just talked to us and just chopped it up about, like, just like poetry, because he was a avid poet, a reader of poetry, and he enjoyed spoken word. And so he was like, again, the actor and director. But he just came and talked to us about acting, and talked to us about, like, the process, and talked to us about, like, how we, as actors, can continue to do what we're doing. And we just talked about the play. And even that night, we took him to Mama Lia's, which was over by Meharry, and we took him to an open mic poetry spot. So we chilled and heard some spoken word with him, or whatever. And of course, he becomes who he became, rest his soul. But yeah, man, it was an amazing experience. So
it's crazy how the play that you're talking about kind of foreshadowed, his role in Black Panther with him being able to see or go back to the ancestry plane and
see his father and stuff.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. It is crazy. I hadn't even really thought about it like that before. But yeah, it was definitely a dope foreshadow of what was to come. But it was an incredible piece, man, that even today I don't think still doesn't get like its recognition, and hopefully it will, you know what I'm saying? Because I think we just kind of put him in a box as, like, oh, he's this dope, incredible actor. But it's like, man, nah, bro he wrote some other plays too. But like, that piece, that hieroglyphic graffiti piece, it's amazing, man. Like, it's still one of my favorite plays that I've done. So,
man, that's just incredible. Like, you never know who you're going to run into in your journey, man. And, like, I know that you're thankful for the gems that he gave you, even then and to now, man. And, like, you have so much going on, bro. Like, I've been just following you, and, like, oh, he doing this, and oh, word, he doing, oh, bro. So I want to get into, some of the things that you're doing now, and some of the things that you have coming up. Like, I know you've done a TED Talk for in Nashville. You have your brand that you build and Elevate Your Vibe. Let's get into that.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, Elevate Your Vibe is it's a non-traditional speaking company that I started that blends inspirational speaking, spoken word poetry, and business talk, just to help companies tell better and more concise and consistent stories. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're like you're a motivational speaker," you know what I mean? And I'm like, "No, I'm not." Right? Like I'm not a motivational speaker, right? And nothing against motivational speakers, but like I'm not a motivational speaker because it's a difference, right,
Okay.
between like being a motivational speaker and a professional speaker, right? Like I'm a professional speaker. A
Okay.
motivational speaker, because it's in the words, right? Like a motivational speaker is there to motivate you. But what if
Right.
your business is a business that needs help with storytelling? You don't need to be motivated. You just need help in like telling your story, right? You need
Right.
help in you have a message that you need to get out, but you don't have the language to tell the story in the way in which it needs to be told.
Yeah,
So you're
you
not
can't
gonna
get on Donuts with Dough podcast. You ain't got no
you ain't got no donuts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it's like you don't need somebody to motivate you, right? And so that's the difference. And so when people say that, I just try to like, hey, like now I'm a professional speaker because like motivation, Zig Ziglar said motivation is like a bath. Neither one of them lasts. You need it daily. So somebody coming to motivate you is cool, but it's gonna wear off. But if I'm coming to like drop gems and drop things in your business that are going to help your business for the long term, that's more valuable, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? So like I try to like make sure people, even professional speakers who are coming up, like I'm like, look, don't call yourself a motivational speaker because if you do, you're going to pigeonhole yourself into like only being able to do like one thing. They're going to call you for like the high school stuff and the, college come get us hype stuff, but like you're not going to get to go speak in corporate places because they don't need motivation. So,
and what does that look like?
Mhm.
What does okay, we're booking Rashad the
Right.
poet today, and he's going to come in.
Mhm.
So what does that look like?
Yeah. So,
Set that up for
yeah.
me.
So, so this a more recent thing I just did was with a business who was trying to, um, basically kind of tell their story through one of their QBR meetings, right? Quarterly business review. And so we kind of just sat down and talked about as a tech company, and we kind of talked about like what their goals were. And then so with me, I make things super unique for the company that I'm working for. So like I'm big on data. So send me a whole bunch of information, right? So they'll like send me, a lot of emails with like a lot of stuff in it that deals with the office, deals with the language, deals with whatever they're doing. So I'll take all that information and then like I'll build story around it. I'll build a talk around it. You know what I mean? And so then I'll go in and I'll give the keynote. And so the keynote is not just like me getting up with like a PowerPoint and pointing to stuff and talking, it's more conversational, but it's the poetry is blended in, right? The rhyme is blended into it. So it's not like I'm talking, then I stop and do a poem. Then I start talking again. Then I stop. I don't do that, right? Like it's just all blended together. So I'm like talking, and then it's just like, did he just rhyme? Wait, is he rhyming? That's a story. Oh, he's back to the business talk. Back to the so it's like all blended together, and you never know when it's gonna hit. You know what I'm saying? So like that's like this like uniqueness that like I've been able to create that has like again in the industry that I'm in, which is basically I do mostly corporate stuff. Like that is not something that they see. So when they see it, it's just like wow, like that's pretty dope, and it's like something that's long lasting because I'm doing it in a way that allows them to remember it. You know what I'm saying? So more than they would just somebody coming in and just talking to them about whatever. So.
And what came first? Did the book come first, the
Mhm.
Elevate Your Vibe book,
Mhm.
or did the actual speaking engagements come first?
Yeah, the speaking came first. And again, I have been doing like off and on stuff for years, right? Like I was I was doing an event, like I was hosting an open mic somewhere. I think I was at the Frist or something. And a guy came up to me and he was like, "Man, I love how you were able to control the crowd and make us laugh. And you just did a good job of emceeing." He's like, "Could you come and talk to my company?" And I was like, talk to them about what? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, what you talking about, bro? He's like, "Man, yeah, we got a conference. It was like a major pet company." And I was like, I mean, like I'm not a speaker. And so I was like, I don't know. He's like, well, I'll give you some information and just put something together. So he sent me like some stuff and I just put together this thing. Then in hindsight, I'm like, man, this was whack. You know what I'm saying? But he was just like, oh yeah. So I did it. I did like a 30-minute joint. And always funny because when I talk to my speaker friends, because we always like run down like our first speaking engagements, and people are like, yeah, I did. Mine was like $100. I had a gift card. They gave me a chicken plate. You know what I'm saying?
Not a chicken plate.
Yeah. And so I was like, dang. I was like, yeah, my first speaking gig was $3,000. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And this was in 2015. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, bruh, they just gave me $3,000 to talk for 30 minutes. I'm like, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, all right, but I still wasn't looking at it as like a career. And they brought me back. Like I did that event for them for like two or 3 years, like, you know what I'm saying, in a row.
But it's something about being a willing servant.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, just stepping out on faith and saying, you know what, God, you put this opportunity in front of me. Let me take advantage of it.
Right. Because I could have easily just been like, nah, man, I don't do that. But it was intriguing just because it was just like, you saw something in me that I didn't necessarily see in myself yet. You know what I'm saying? This was a stranger, right? Who was just like, man, like I love what you did. Like, can you come do something like that for us here? Even though it was in a different way, it was still like me being able to use my gift. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like he was asking me to come and do surgery. He was saying like, come just kind of do what you did, but just do it for us in this way. You know what I mean? So it was the same type of energy, but it was just like, okay, let me just go see what's good with it.
Because it's in you, not on you.
Facts. You know what I'm saying? It's already there, right? And I can tell people, like, everything you need is already in your hands. We just searching for everything everywhere else, but it's like already in front of us. So for me, it was still just like I was doing all these other things, but it was like these things were already in front of me. And again, like I was doing these one-offs, like I was doing stuff for healthcare companies, you know, same type of energy. Like they would call me, hey, can you come do this? Check be super nice. But I'm not like connecting the dots. That's like, bruh, this is what you're supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? I'm still just doing everything else. And it wasn't until I did the Periscope program with the Nashville Incubation Center, which is basically like it just teaches artists how to become better business minded folks. And so you have to you have a mentor, you have like a professional mentor who's out there in the world doing big things or whatever. And they like kind of mentor you, whether through email or sometimes in person. And they kind of help you figure out what you want. Because at the end of the night, at the final session, it's a 7-week program. At the last day, you pitch to an audience and you pitch to judges, like whatever it is you want to bring to the table. So for me as an artist, it's like, okay, I'm not trying to pitch like me as an MC, because like I'm not like being signed and all that. Like that's not my goal. I don't care nothing about that. So as an actor, not trying to do that, because really like as an actor, all I can do is audition. So there's nothing I can really pitch. So I was like, I don't know what I'm going to pitch. I was taking all the gems and the jewels from the classes, but like, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to pitch. And I was having a meeting with my mentor. And for whatever reason, I just brought up, I was like, yeah, I go into companies and I do this thing where I blend speaking and poetry and their business talk. And I put it all together and do these keynotes. And he was like, stop.
Is it?
He's like, what are you doing? And like, this guy's like a major player in like the online business of like Ticketmaster. Like he's Brainchild, one of those dudes, right? He's like, what are you doing? He's like, that's what you're supposed to be doing. He's like, I've never heard anything like that in my entire life. And he's like, I would pay right now if I had he was like, that's it. And so like, that's when the light bulb was like, bing. So like that night I went home, you know, hey, Dave, talking to my wife.
Hey,
listen,
excited.
You know what I'm saying? And she's like, well, let's figure it out. And like, so she,
Slow down, baby.
Yeah, she, being that, being what what wives are to us, you know what I'm saying? She was like, listen, so like, let's do this. What if it was that? And just using her, like, and she was like, what about elevate? You know what I'm saying? I was like, elevate your vibe. Like, that's what I do. Like, I go in, I literally change people's moods and their thoughts and their attitudes and the way they think, you know what I'm saying? And so we were like, that's it. And then like from that night, it was just on, you know what I'm saying? Like I put branding stuff together, started reaching out to people. And again, this goes back to when I was talking about earlier about the email list. So all these email lists that I have created, like I got over 10,000 emails. And this is from like years of like from
10K?
10K. Like, no, not saying they all work still, but you know what I'm saying?
Hey,
but
it was a body attached.
It was yeah. And so, right. And so from 2005 till, like this is like 2018, like I'm just going back. I'm like, okay, how do I get clients now? Right. Because now I'm doing this, but how do I reach out to people? Who do I reach out to? Like, I got 10,000 emails. So I crafted the emails like, hey, because I was doing like monthly emails anyway. But like now it's like, okay, I got to shift this focus to like me being a speaker. And so I sent an email out and was like, hey, if you need a speaker, I'm doing this. And people started reaching back. It was like, hey man, like, can you come talk at our church? Or can you come to this, can you do this graduation talk for us, for our youth in the detention centers and stuff like that? You know what I'm saying? So my earlier clients were just people who were on my email list who were just like, oh yeah, we need a speaker for our office thing. And so then I just started getting footage, started getting testimonials and reviews, and then just kind of started taking off. And then some of those earlier like clients from the healthcare side, like I started reaching out to them, they started reaching back, and then it just took off. You know what I'm saying? And this has been on ever since. So
wow, talk about creating your own income.
Yeah. And it's freedom. For me, speaking is freedom because it allows me the freedom to, for me, I could speak 250 times a year if I wanted to, but that's not like my goal. Because I don't like, for me, speaking gives me the freedom to be with my family. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to like 9 to 5 grind, and I don't have to do those things anymore. It's like I can speak when I want to speak. You know what I'm saying? And have the freedom to not have to worry about everything else. Like I go to every field trip. I ain't missed a field trip. You know what I'm saying? I can go to doctor's appointments. I can do what I want to do because that's what this does for me. Like for me personally, it gives me freedom. But for my clients, it gives them like this value that they can't really get like anywhere else. You know what I mean? And so like it's a win-win, and it's nothing beats it. You know what I'm saying? So
let's get into the Nashville Dads Club.
Yeah, for sure.
Something I can.
Yeah, dads in the building. Let's go.
I could have been casted for that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We got to get you on the episode. That's what we got to do. You know what I'm saying? For sure.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
I can play myself.
Right,
I can play somebody
you know
else.
what I'm saying? For sure. Yeah. Let's get it.
But let's talk about that. And I want to thank you, face to face for plugging that higher ground.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, have to represent. Yeah.
Sir.
Episode. Yeah. Coffee Connoisseur, which is crazy because it's one of the people's favorite episodes too. So, yeah, for sure, man. But yeah, Nashville Dads Club, man, was an idea of a good friend of mine, Philip Cordell, and myself. We were actually just we had done a pilot that he had wrote a year prior. We did a pilot, and it was really dope. And so we kind of came back together after it had run its course. Like the pilot actually we did like got into film festivals and all these other things. But we kind of realized like, okay, hey, you need something else like a little bit more, right? Like a one pilot of a show, which was like called Prince of Pools. And it was about a guy who he was like the heir of this pool company, but he didn't want to be. He wanted to be a rapper. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, wow.
And like I played like his best friend or whatever. So it was a dope pilot, man. But we just wanted to come back together. So we were like, let's come together and try to think of some things, like some new ideas, right? And so we were just kind of at his office one day, kind of mulling over some stuff. And this idea came up, man, just talk about these like 3 dads who get together and kind of just get into all kind of crazy stuff. And so we were like, man, this is gonna be dope. But this was like February of 2020. Right. We came up with the idea, kind of got it going. And then of course, boom, the bottom fell out in March. Right. So it was like, man, we were about to film this. It was about to be dope. And so we just kind of had to just wait and kind of like a wait and see thing. But like around October, we were like, look, we're going to get a small crew together and we're going to get everybody, make sure everybody's masked up and just try to be as safe as we can. And we're going to try to knock these episodes out. So we did 8 episodes in 2 days, and so it's a short form series. So it's like 4.5, 5 minutes long each episode. So we got together with everybody in October of 2020, filmed the whole thing. Everybody was safe. Nobody got sick, thankfully. And, once it was done, once the editing, everything was finished, we were like, man, this is kind of fly. You know what I'm saying? But again, it's not about us thinking it's dope. It's like, what the people gonna say? So we released it a few months later, and man, it went crazy. Like, you know what I mean? It just went stupid. And we were just like, wow, like this is crazy. Because pretty much it was just all us doing it. Phil's company was behind it. And it was just like, we just kind of did it. And Danny Dones as well, who directed every episode. He also was a writer. He's co-creator as well. And so we kind of just put it all together. And it just went crazy, man. And the first season had over 2 million views across all social media platforms. And so we were just like, oh,
we got some.
Okay, this is lit. You know what I mean? And so we were like, okay. So we filmed season 2. earlier this year, and I mean late last year, and we released it early this year, and it just went crazy again. You know what I'm saying? And this year we were able to step it up production wise, step it up just with like special guests and all those other things, and just took the story to the next level, like took the foolishness to the next level. And so again, it's just like, man, it's just crazy that we're actually like building like a brand that people are really like. We've done like super, you know, a lot of like several podcasts, been on like a lot of the shows here in town.
See y'all throw the first pitch.
Throw the first pitch at the Nashville Sounds game. Yeah, man. So it's like, it's been dope. But again, it's like, it's that ground level, which takes me back to like 05 for me. It's like, man, we're building something. You know what I'm saying? We're building something really, really powerful and really, really strong. And we're just planting the seeds, and it's just growing. So like, yeah, the Dad's Club is something I'm really, really proud of, because again, we're just like, you know, putting our stamp, you know what I'm saying, in a place. So it's really cool.
Ooh, man, like I'm a fan of it, because I'm a Murfreesboro dad, but
yeah, for sure.
Dad,
still, you know how it is. Yeah, for sure,
bro. Like I'm proud to know you and see what you're building and everything that you got going on, man. I'm just a big fan and appreciate seeing the face out there that I know personally that's, you know, out here representing for us.
Yeah, for sure, man. And vice versa, bro. Like, I'm proud of you, bro. Like, I think about like just us as like artists, you know what I'm saying, and where we've come from, how we started the game, and where we are now, you know what I'm saying? It's just like what you are doing and how you have this podcast, everything that you got your hands on, bro. Like you spreading that love, and you're creating, you know what I'm saying? Like you've never stopped creating. You've never stopped being dope. You know what I mean? And like, that's a powerful thing, bro. And there's, you know, from one black man to another, bro, like I'm proud of you, bro. You know what I'm saying? For real.
Hey,
for real.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
Before we get out of here,
yeah,
I got a segment. It's called Half a Dozen.
Yeah.
And we don't have a sponsor for this, but today the unofficial sponsor is going to be Donut Country out of Murfreesboro.
Yeah.
They got 2 locations here in Murfreesboro. You know, it's when I say half a dozen, it could be a half a dozen of anything I pick in category wise.
Right.
So that could be a half a dozen of your favorite poets.
Right.
Yeah, we'll just go with that.
Okay.
We'll just go with
Yeah.
Give me your top 6 favorite poets.
Oh man, that's gonna be tough. Okay, let me just run it down. So we're gonna go Gil Scott Heron off top. We're gonna go County Cullen, dope poet. We're gonna go Nikki Giovanni.
I got a story about County Cullen.
I'll tell you. Okay, for sure. Yeah. So we're gonna go. So we got Gil Scott, County Cullen, Nikki Giovanni. I gotta go with some folks from school. Arima Cleveland, crazy poet. Up here, even in Nashville, like Tia Mitchell. I'm sorry, Tia. Tia is another dope poet. And then like maybe I'll go like Malcolm Williams. You know what I'm saying? Like from another cat from school. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I could name more, but like those are people who I feel like are just like influence me. You know what I'm saying, in a major way. So
I know it's a lot of stuff that we didn't get into, the Southern word.
Oh yeah, it's all good. Yeah, for sure.
But I know that you will be back because you out here working.
We getting it. We got to. Yeah.
Out here working.
For sure. Got to.
But dude, I appreciate you coming on the show. And I look forward to seeing everything that you develop with the Elevate Your Vibe. Maybe you need to come talk to, the people that come on the podcast. Maybe they need to elevate their vibe.
Yeah, always. We always iron sharpen iron. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Come speak on Spread the Positive.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Drop me
in. Dude, Rashad the Poet, it's been a pleasure. And I thank you for coming on Donuts with D.O.U.G.H. And all y'all out there, if y'all watching this, tell your friends about it. Like, share, subscribe. Because we need to build this. This is a platform for y'all, because there's a lot of people that do things behind the scenes that you don't know about.
For sure.
And you need to know. Right. That's what Donuts with D.O.U.G.H. is. We shout out the people that work behind the scenes. So, Rashad, again, appreciate you, bro, for coming on, man.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you having me, dog. 100. Yeah.
Sir.
Yeah.